I've been working for the last many years with many parents around the world. I cannot remember meeting someone that did not have a question or two or 10 about practice. As we all know, parents and teachers and some adult students, practice is always the thing which triggers us. Practice is also something that we can never know too much about practice. So each week we will touch one point in the spirit of Suzuki Way. There will be one point at a time. You will have a chance to practice the point 7 times and add another point each week. Quite a safe way to learn, as you can see from Suzuki approach. So let's start with number 1. Creating the desire to practice is the parent's duty, said Dr. Shinichi Suzuki. If you feel daunted by this statement, hang on. It does not have to be an overwhelming task if you do one thing at a time. So to begin with, let's make practice pleasant. This is point number 1. Let's make practice pleasant. You might ask, what? After 6 or 7 weeks of not practicing properly, that's the best you could come up with? Pleasant? What does pleasant have to do with it, you might ask me? There's so much work to be done. So much work. Yes, I agree. And work can be pleasant. If it's not pleasant, it becomes a chore. And if it becomes a chore, sooner or later, conflicts will arise, and so on. I'm sure you know how it goes. So, start this week with creating a pleasant atmosphere. And as I said before, if this is your first week of going back to school or going back to lessons, or if it's just an ongoing thing for you, but you really want to start something with a fresh look, with a fresh attitude, with a fresh taste, that's for you too. So you start this week with creating pleasant atmosphere. That means that this is the only focus this week. You work only on pleasant. And I emphasize only because I know that many parents, out of very good will and good intentions, very good intentions, dedicated parents, when they hear anything about one thing to do, they say, okay, I'll do it, but then another. They just sneak another one. So I really mean only. And you will see in the future, in the near future, as we are working together, why the only one is so important. But for now, I will leave you a little bit with a mystery. If you care just to adopt it without completely understanding why just one, then you are together for the ride. Now, when I looked at the dictionary for synonyms or for translation or definition of the word pleasant, I found lots of them. Let me just read a few of them. Under pleasant, gratifying, friendly, delightful, agreeable, socially acceptable, polite, amiable, enjoyable, gracious, welcome. So if I just add now, and I know I'm repeating, but repetition is a part of the whole thing. If we just add the word practice to each definition, let's just see how it sounds in our head. Gratifying practice, friendly practice, delightful practice, agreeable practice, That means that both parents and children need to agree. Socially acceptable practice, which means you're not going to hit your child before practice. Now, this was a bad joke. It means that you are not going to be aggressive or over demanding. You're going to do it in a socially acceptable way. A polite practice, an amiable practice. It will not mean you do, you do what I say. It'll mean just work in an amiable way. It'll be enjoyable practice. It'll be a gracious practice. And it'll be a welcome practice. Welcome for you and welcome for your child. Now we all agree, I hope, that in order to succeed in anything, not just piano, violin, cello, and so on, we need to practice. And practice needs to be consistent. If we want to persist, we need to make it pleasant or mostly pleasant. Because if it's not pleasant, you will not want to continue. Not for a long time. So if we want to make whatever activity we are talking about here, we want to make it a constant part of our lives, that even at some point your children will just pick it up and do it by themselves. You want to make it enjoyable. You want to make it pleasant. And we know that we have to start, first of all, with the environment. This is the first thing. A man is a son of his environment, said Dr. Shinichi Suzuki. So, you, parent or guardian, have to make sure that you create in yourself a pleasant attitude towards practice. Now, if practice for you is, oh no, now we have to start all over again, or I don't have time, or I don't have energy, or I don't have heart space to do it, or oh gosh, how will I find a patient to do another year of this? I can understand why some of you might feel like this, but I'm sure you will agree that this will be very difficult for you to create a pleasant environment for your child if this is what's happening in your heart. If you need some help to create it in yourself, because that's what I'm going to invite you, to create a pleasant feeling, first of all, in yourself. So if you need some help for this, then try as a first step to remember why you started piano or violin or whatever lessons for your child in the first place. There was a reason. Why you picked the phone and called and checked around to find a good teacher for your child. Why you went and checked this teacher. Why you went and observed lessons. There was a reason. Try to connect to this reason. Another thing to help you create or recreate this pleasant feeling towards practice in yourself is reread a book. Because I'm sure you all of you already read a book, a 2 or 10 or 50 about Suzuki Way. But read it again. I will always recommend to read again Nurtured by Love. This is the first one on the shelf or next to your bed. Even if you read it 10 times in the past, it is still not 10,000 times. If you don't have time to read the whole book, open the book randomly and read the page you opened. And if you don't own a copy, please get one straight away. And I will put a link to it in the show notes. Now, this book is a winner. It contains the primal essence of the Suzuki Way. I read it, or parts of it, many times. I can't even recall. Every time before I do a parent education seminar, I read it again because I'm asking the parents that join the seminar or the parents course. I ask them to read a book. So I make sure that I read it again. So every time I read it, and I read a copy which I own for about 40 plus years, every time I discover that they added another sentence there. Surprise. This is a living entity, this book. But jokes aside, there's always a new thing I discover or rediscover. Once you feel that you remember or you reminded yourself of why you do it, then you have it in you, and then you're ready to pick it up and to invite your child for the ride. So, now you only have to invite your child to this space. When you initiate practice, I invite you to watch a few things. Sorry. Watch the tone of your voice. Listen to the volume of your voice. Choose inviting words. Words have got a lot of impact on us, and mainly on children. Be confident that this is important, for instance, but not demanding. That will be interesting for you to practice confidence without demand. Imagine that you are being videoed. You might even want to do it, to put a video camera somewhere. So you try to be very aware of the way that you invite your child to practice. I trust that you got the idea, and I guess that you knew all of this before. It's just a reminder for you. Do what you know in order to initiate a practice. And if what you know is not working anymore, then change it. That means that you ignore this week all other things. Remember, I emphasize one point, and the one point is to make practice pleasant. So you ignore any other thing. You ignore the sound, you ignore the length of practice, you ignore the quality of practice, the effectiveness of practice, and even the frequency of practice. It'll be wonderful if you get 7 days, but that's not the point of this week. So in the worst scenario, you're going to get 1 day of practice, 1 day of a good practice this week, please let me reinforce. So 1 day of good practice to start with, to be back to the groove, is better than 6 or 7 not so good days. And you know why? Because it creates a desire to come back. Remember, we mentioned desire. So the message of this week is practice is pleasant. Now, I don't mean that you have to declare it, but show it in your behavior. If you have a smile on your face, and a smile in your belly, and a smile in your heart, and you go like this to the practice, then you give the message of practice is pleasant. I assure you that you will cover all the points in the coming episodes. So don't tell yourself, I need to do more than just pleasant. Please stick to pleasant. First, make it something that you and your child will want to do during 2021. To clarify, your practice is being pleasant every day. You might not have practice every day, as I said. I know I'm repeating myself, but this week you practice being pleasant. So I will bid you a pleasant goodbye for now. And please note that you can send me a voice message in the podcast. And you can do it on any platform that you listen to your podcast. Next week we'll meet with point number 2. So back to the groove. Make practice pleasant. And bye for now.